it's Jan with What You Make It, and I am back with another card in our 2013 card series. This is a really simple card with a great technique that has a wow factor to it, and it's these little French knots. I'm going to show you how I made this. You'll want to make it too, I think. My supplies are really simple. I'm starting with a leaf print stamp and a sentiment, but the real centerpiece of this card are these French knots that I'm going to use as berries, and I'm going to show you how I did those. But I'm using my leaf stamp. I've got a couple colors of ink. The sentiment that I'm using is one from Paper Tray Ink's Tremendous Treats Christmas collection. I love that they always put a few little extra sentiments in, even with their image stamps, and this is one of those that I'll use again and again. I'm using a basic 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card front, and I just kind of do these assembly line style. This is one of those that is really super simple to get a lot of them done. So I'm going to start with my first one, and as usual I put my mouse pad down and I'm inking up my stamp with, I believe this is ripe avocado ink from Paper Tray Ink, but really you just want a good Christmas green and red combination to go on this. And I'm making a frame for the sentiment. By turning the stamp and kind of using different parts of it coming in off of that edge, you can actually make a single stamp work to create all of your frame imagery. Quick and easy. Again, like I said, this is a great one to do for a kind of an assembly line style project. You see that I am checking to make sure that I'm leaving space for my sentiment and just kind of planning where I'm going to put that last little leaf branch in there. I like this particular stamp because it is a silhouette. I think for a project like this where you're trying to create a lot of a card in a short amount of time, that the solid color really works. And as we go, you'll see that no two of these ended up being the same. I didn't stamp everything in the same place each time. Just each one's different, and that's kind of a cool thing. Now I'm just going to add a little bit of an edge to this card front with my ripe avocado ink, and that will help it pop off of the card when I put it on the card front. So now I'm going to put the sentiment stamp in there. I love the mixed font. I think sometimes when we are doing clean and simple cards that using fonts that are a little different but work well together can really add some real cool visual interest. And so that's why I really like this sentiment for this card. And you'll see that later I created some with the holly, and it worked as well. Now I'm going to mark where I'm going to put my berries, and I pulled out my Copic marker in a color that's close to the thread that I'm going to use, just in case any of it shows after I do the little French knots. But you could use any marker that you wanted to. You could use a pencil. I just know that when I get going doing a whole lot of these, that having it be red ink that I marked it with is a good plan. And you just kind of balance it, put them where they would make sense and where they give a little more visual interest. Now I'm using my paper piercer, and I'm going back through, and everywhere that I put a red dot, I am just making a hole. Pretty easy, huh? That mouse pad really comes in handy for so many things. It just stays out on my craft desk. So to start the sewing, I am using 3 strands from a strand of embroidery floss, and I'm going to use a piece of tape to start or to hold the string on the back, because you are going to have to be able to pull against it. So I'm just kind of taping that down. And to make a French knot, you go up through the cardstock and pull it taut, and then you hold the thread and wind it around 3 or 4 times. And the key to this knot really working is for you to keep tension on that thread that you wrapped around. If you don't hold it, then the knot actually doesn't form. So just hold it in place while you're pulling the other thread down through, and it will, when it gets close, you can release it. Okay, let's try this one more time just so you can see that process. You come up, you go around, I'm holding it nice and tight, go around 3 or 4 times, and you go right back through the hole that you came up in. And we're going to hold that thread really nice and tight and pull the rest of the thread through. And when it gets close, just release it, and your knot is formed. I'm telling you, these are really quick and easy to do. When I actually went into production mode on these, I had all of my cards stamped, and I was watching something on TV and just doing my French knots because it doesn't require total attention on it. Just love how they look. So here are some of the cards. You can see I made some with the holly, but isn't it cool, that texture that the French knots make are great. And here's a close-up so you can see they give another layer of texture, but they're really thin, and you could send them through the mail. Really simple, Simon. So I'm using Craft cardstock as my card base, and I always like doing a little something extra on the inside, and Craft cardstock looks really great when you use watermark ink on it. So I'm using just Versamark with my leaf print and adding that in there, and when it dries, it just gives you kind of a tone on tone. I'm going to do just a little distressing with walnut stain ink around that edge, and pop up our little card front, and we're almost done. I know I do go a little bit overboard on the dimensionals, but you know, I love them really holding it up on the card. So I tend to use plenty to make sure there's no sagging or any gaps in there. Also, I'm going to do that same sort of thing on the envelopes. I think it's great when you're making a set of cards to tie everything together, your envelope and your card. So just make sure that you don't stamp in the area that they are going to need to put the address or postage. But there you go. I mean, it's really, really a simple card, one that you can create lots and lots of. Everyone's different. I know your friends will enjoy receiving it. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you are taking time for some creative play, and come back and see me again soon.